If you grew up watching Victorious, then you probably remember an episode called A Film by Dale Squires. In this episode, a famous young director and alumni comes to Hollywood Arts to assist in a class project where the students will be making a short film. But during the episode, as the gang are making their film, Dale offers little, if any, assistance throughout the whole production. He's portrayed as lazy, selfish, and egotistical, and extremely willing to take credit for work that the kids did. At first watch, especially as kids, you probably watched this episode and thought of him as just some asshole who only redeemed himself at the end of the episode when he finally gives them the proper credit. I know no one asked for this, but I'm going to play devil's advocate here for Dale Squires and explain why I don't think he's the total villain we initially perceived him to be. In fact, I sort of think of him as the Drake Parker type from Drake and Josh. Not necessarily always a good person, but usually tries to do the right thing when he messes up. Disclaimer, I'm not going to be dismissing the fact that Dale Squires was a jerk, because he definitely was throughout the whole thing. The only purpose is to help us see him in a potentially new light, rather than redeem him. The first thing I want to debunk is that Dale is just a lazy person or doesn't do any of his own work. When we first meet Dale, he's pretty well known at this point professionally. He even mentions that he's about to start working on a film with Johnny Depp, so clearly he's artistically respected in his field. He even talks about specific choices that he made while working on these films, such as going with the handheld camera and even being truthful when they tried to give him credit for a choice to leave an actor out of a camera shot when really, that was just an accident. We can also see throughout the episode, during the moments where he's actually working on the film, that he's really into it and has his own methods of working as a director, such as allowing Jade to improvise and do what feels right for her character. Ultimately, while he may not have been intimately helpful during the production, we can at least rule out this idea that he's not talented or doesn't care about his work, because he clearly does. The second line I wanted to debunk is that Dale Squires is just a selfish dude who took credit for the film that the kids did because he's a bad person. When I was rewatching this episode, I considered the old saying, monkey see, monkey do. If anyone has worked in Hollywood for any amount of time, you will realize that a lot of time, the big names out there who have built up enough respect for themselves through their own years of hard work have the privilege of being sought after as a lucrative asset to different productions, when really, most of the work is done by people who are still in the midst of working their own way up.
Oh, come on. You think Steven Spielberg really directed Jaws?
In fact, this is not just a truth confined to Hollywood. This is the truth that anyone in the working world can relate to, as most of us who have watched the show when we were kids are trying to figure out as we're beginning our journey in that era.
You know I directed that movie. Beck wrote it and Andre did all the music and editing. What did you do?
I took the credit.
While this episode may have been an exaggerated example of how this works, it rings true nonetheless. I believe that Dale was very talented and, like the kids, did a lot of work on different productions and had to build a name for himself over time. I believe he sees the situation as no different from the things that were done to him, the work that he had to do as well, the paying of one's dues. He just happens to be in a position now where he can reap the benefits of other people's work. To him, they're just a ragtag group of kids who are doing a school project and lucky enough to have him and his support on board. While it's still no excuse for taking the credit for the work that they did, to him, this has been normalized. This is how it works.
You should at least share the credit with us.
Man, you really don't get Hollywood, do you?
And in the end, while he couldn't erase any of the things he had done, he did his best to make it right. I believe he saw himself in the kids and was reminded of his own struggle to become a director. Again, this is just me theorizing, but as an adult rewatching, I can definitely see a different side to the story.